Hey everyone, welcome to Homestead Happy Mama. I'm so glad you're here. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to can pears. It is a time-consuming task, I'm not going to lie, but it is so rewarding and it is so fun. Today I'm going to take you along the process and hopefully you can learn from these easy steps how to can all by yourself. If you've never canned before, I just want to tell you that you can do this. It's not as hard as you think. It's not as complicated. It just takes a little bit of learning and a whole lot of work. So I recommend buying a water bathing canner. You do not have to have one, but I'm telling you, it makes your life so much easier. And make sure you have jars, depending on how many pears that you have. That will determine how many jars you need. I did a huge batch, so it just depends. I'm going to core all of these. When I tell you they're heavy, this is like probably 15 pounds right here. Or maybe more, I don't know. Last year, I had to think about this. My 81-year-old grandpa, he'll be 82 this June. But anyway, he came over last year and he helped me because last year I was very new to canning, and it was just one of the sweetest memories I will never forget. But he came over and I told him that I saw something on YouTube, and there's a lady and she dips her pears into a boiling thing of hot water, and the peeling just comes right off. You just stick them in there you gotta count to 30 seconds, and then you peel them, and you don't even have to peel with a knife, you just peel them with your fingers. It just slides off. And he's very positive. He was like, well, okay, we can try that. And which I knew he was like, whatever, this is not gonna work. Well, we tried it and we did it exactly like the video said, and it did not work. And when I tell you it took hours to peel those pears, we were probably there for 3 hours or longer peeling pears. And that's why I can't get over, these are red, I can't say how you say it, but they're red pears. D'Anjou or something, I don't know. And I have had the easiest time. They just come right off. It's very smooth, but they're still hard enough, like there's a crunch in the pear. It's not mushy or anything. So I'm wondering, is it the type of pear because they're red, like they might be easier than the greenish yellow ones? I don't know. So I hope that your experience is smooth and easy like mine has been today. After that experience with my grandpa and us struggling so hard to peel those pears, I told myself I would never can pears again. And so I kind of just forgot about it. And then yesterday I got a phone call from a local produce stand owner, and he was like, He's older and so sweet. He's like, hey, baby, do you want some pears? So when he called, I was like, well, how much are they? And he said $5. And you get 9 bags in a box. I was like, I'll be right there. So I bought 2 boxes. And this is, we counted, me and the boys last night, there are 214 pears for $10. And these are organic. I was like, oh yes, I will gladly take them. But I'm really happy that this has been a good experience. It's been very smooth to peel. Okay, so the way that I like to do it is like this. Like I know that there's a core, and so I just go down and I kind of feel like around it where it starts getting harder in the middle. I know not to cut and use that inside. Now, other people, I'm about to show you, will do it like this, and I feel like it is a little harder. So they just cut right down the middle. As you can see, the seeds, and then they kind of make like a little V shape. I just feel like that's harder and more dangerous. And then they go like that. So I'm still becoming familiar with this process, but if I had to guess, I think this will be enough for maybe 2 quarts. We'll find out though. So now you want to go ahead and put your pears in a big pot and fill it up with water. I think I filled it up with 10 cups of water, and now I'm adding lemon juice. Do 1 cup of lemon juice and add it to your pot. I used to think that this helped preserve the pears, but actually it does not. The sugar is what preserves them, but the lemon juice helps for the color to stay pretty. Now you're going to add 1.5 cups of pure cane sugar to your pears. Next, you're going to add a capful of vanilla and a little sprinkle of cinnamon. You do not have to use either one, but I just love the flavor that it gives to it. Now you want to stir all your ingredients up and let your pears boil for about 10 minutes. Make sure you don't let them overboil, because by the time you're ready to put them into the jars, and then you have to boil that for 25 minutes, you don't want your pears to become too mushy. This is just to melt the sugar. So make sure you've already washed your jars and their lids. And next you will put all of them in a pot, or if you have a water bath canner, that works too. It's okay if you don't have one. It took me probably like 6 months to get one, but personally, I find it so much easier because it allows you to boil more at once, and the rack that you pull up helps to retrieve the jars more safely, and it's just so much easier. Now it's time to check on your pears, and they look really good. This is what you want them to look like. You don't want them to boil, but just the water to get really bubbly. And now it's time to take out your jars out of the warm water. And the reason why we warm up the jars is because number one, to kill germs, and number two is so the jars have a chance to gradually warm up instead of being cold and then getting really hot at a boil that could potentially make them explode. Now it's the fun part, filling your jars with your fruit. So we want to fill it up or leave a headspace for a 1/2 inch. I personally like to stuff as much fruit in there as I can, because if I don't, it floats for some reason. I don't know why. And the floating is not a bad thing. It doesn't mean your food went bad, it just doesn't look pretty. So if you want that pretty look, or if you're trying to sell it and it be beautiful, you might want to like look up some canning information. But I do know that, like, as long as you don't overfill it, but you have to get this spacing, the head space just right so it doesn't float. It just takes a little practice. So after they're all full, you have to get the bubbles out, and the way to do that is just gently press on the side with like a butter knife. I'm using a spoon right now because that's the quickest thing I could grab, and that's all you do. You just stick it on the side and you'll watch the bubbles flow to the top. And once you've done that on every corner, it's ready to clean off the tops and then put the lid on. I started this morning at 11 o'clock and it is 7 o'clock and I have not stopped. I just can't help but think about how people did it back in the old days. We call it the good old days, but it's amazing to me that women were just so strong and worked so hard physically. Like, it is a physical labor, and it's just so rewarding. I see a few more bubbles on this one. But I wanted to make more of these videos on my channel because I want to help other people, especially who want to learn how to kind of bring back a sense of the old days. The more you follow me, you'll hear me talk about my grandmother, and she helped raise me, and I think that's why I have such an old soul, is like, she showed me these ways and I didn't really appreciate them when I lived with her. I didn't realize the value that the things she taught me had, but today I cherish them more than ever. Maybe I can share some of the things that she taught me with y'all. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and wipe all the lids off. They're very sticky. Okay, so these lids are very sticky. I say lids, the top of the jars are very sticky, and you don't want that on there. Even if it gets rinsed off in the pot, it'll grow like bacteria and stuff, and then it'll ruin all your hard work. So that's why we clean them. They're so hot. One more and we can get the lids on. Okay, now I'm going to use this dry one to, there we go. I wish I had my own cameraman. My boys went with their daddy to go get something to eat, and sometimes they help me around here. It's so much fun. Anyway, I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, then you get the dry one and just wipe out all the moisture underneath the lid, because like I said, just because it's wet in there, like if this is dry, it'll stay dry underneath. That way you don't want bacteria growing. Once this still is really good, water shouldn't get under there, like in the deepest part. I think I said this before, but just make sure when you tighten them, you don't tighten it as hard as you can, but you want it to be firm, just like a good turn, if that makes sense, not like as hard as you can. I think if you do it as hard as you can, it could potentially like explode. I've had that happen and it's scary. This is so exciting. Like once you see the final product, it's like, this was all worth it. I think what will be even more rewarding, but it's going to take time here, is when you actually have grown the food yourself, then done all this. To me, that seems like extremely rewarding. Me and my family just took a walk in our garden around the property, and that's what we were talking about. There's so much corn my husband planted back there in the backyard, and we were like, what are we going to do with all this corn? And I'm like, well, I'm going to have to can it, because like there's no way, and we're going to give it to people, and I don't even know what's in store, but it's a lot. Okay. These are all so beautiful, and they are ready to go in this pot. As we're waiting on the pears to finish up, I wanted to talk to y'all about what it looks like to save your food. And what I mean by that is prepping and storing your food in a good manner where you can stock up your pantry and have whatever your goal is, whether it's a month supply of food, 3 months, 6 months, a whole year, which is huge. I think right now we probably have a month. And I say that as in like eating rice and eggs. So it's not all the things, but I think we could survive off of a month's supply, and that's a little scary. But I wanted to share this with y'all because this is not out of fear or anything like that. It's not panic mode. Let's go buy, a ton of food and spend all our savings or anything like that. But it's little things like this that add up. This only cost me $10, and I bought the jars, but I also reused the jars, so it pays off. But it's just doing little things every day. And no, I don't can every day. This is actually the first time this year that I've even gotten to, and this is usually when I crank it up from May to like August, and then I just rest the rest of the year because we have enough. So I want this channel to bring inspiration and just motivation to do something every day or once a week, whether it's learning how to can or growing your own garden. And if you don't have land, it's okay. You can literally grow food out of big drums or buckets or whatever. If you live like in an apartment in the city, you can put them on your porch and pour soil into the bucket. They're growing their own food, and it's beautiful. So I know a lot of people will say, well, I don't have land, and it just totally works. Anything you can do works. So I just wanted to share that with y'all. It was on my heart. Not out of fear, but as you know, I'm sure y'all have seen the news. I don't watch the news, but I have seen on Facebook there's a lot going on, and there's so many things that we're unsure of. We don't really know what's going on. So, but we see things like food shortages, the baby formula shortage, which is so sad. There's so many babies out there that they could possibly not have food. So now's the time to start really researching how can you be more self-sufficient. And that's just what this channel is all about, besides homemaking and being a mom and stuff like that. But that is my heartbeat, and I've never really got to share that on here. I know y'all probably thought this was just a pear video, but it's just something that I really want to hone in on this year, is how to be more self-sufficient. So I hope that I can help and be a blessing to y'all. And we're learning as we go. Like, we do not know everything. There's so much that we don't know. And what's amazing to think about is like our grandparents are pretty much the last generation to really, really, really be hands-on and know all the things about gardening and surviving and being self-sufficient and all that fun stuff. And if you don't have a grandparent, I mean, I don't know, maybe your parents, it got passed down, I don't know, but my parents, they were blessed to go to the grocery store, and so I wasn't taught how to grow a garden. Easier this way, and it's true, it is easier going to Walmart, loading the buggy up, but it's times like now when there's shortages, as we saw in 2020 when the world shut down during the pandemic. I mean, there were times where we couldn't go to the grocery store, or they would only allow so many people in, or they would allow the elderly in first, and then we had to wait. Let's say you don't have any groceries. Well, if you have to wait a couple of days, like that could be really bad. So anyway, the point of this is, it's not out of fear at all, but it's being wise with what God has given us, and to just learn on our own what to do so we'll be ready if something was to happen. Not saying anything bad will happen, but it's just knowing, like for example, this has nothing to do with 2020, but last year there came a really bad freeze here, and we had no water for like 2 days. We were not prepared at all. My husband did buy a generator, thank God, and he had all that fixed up, but still, like, water was so hard to come by. I was in tears because I didn't clean the kitchen that day like perfectly, and I had dirty dishes, no water, We were all thirsty. Like the Berkey that we have here, it's our filtering system. It was empty. And so we were like freaking out. And so we went to the store. Thankfully we could go to the store and get it. But what if we couldn't go to the store in that time? So my husband is looking into getting like a solar, I think it's like a solar generator pump, something. So, like I said, I'm learning. I don't know everything. So, it's just things like that. Thinking ahead and thinking about what is important. How can I take care of my family? How can I take care of myself? That kind of stuff. So, I'm hoping that this will help y'all. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel so you can keep up and I can help you along the way. Okay, it's getting closer. Make sure you have a towel and open very, no wonder I feel like I'm yelling at y'all. Open it slowly because it's called burping. It's such a weird, I hate that word, but because you will burn your arm with the steam and it hurts so bad. Just kind of, there we go. Not tell a story. Just said $5. Not about fear, but I feel like as people, I am on my last batch. About to throw it in. I'm not gonna throw it, but I'm going to set it carefully in being self-sufficient and wanting to and these flies, when there's